YouTube channel near you.
Well, hello, and welcome to Spiritual Street Talk with Althea Jacob. I'm Althea, and I am delighted that you are joining us tonight. Thank you so much for tuning in, everybody. Whether you are tuning in live for the chat or the program itself right now, or whether you're listening a day or two from now, a week or two from now, or even a year or two from now. I imagine it'll still be floating in cyberspace somewhere. Thank you for joining us and spending your precious time with us this evening. So, for those of you who are new to Spiritual Street Talk, this is your opportunity, if you are on with me live, to ask questions or put up comments or topics that you would like for me to discuss and bring up, and we can have some back and forth on. The format for the show is I usually start with a little bit of what's going on in the world, things that are on my mind and heart. Then I will go through reading some information that I got from Spirit. So I ask each week, I ask for messages or inspiration. So I pull some angel cards and some tarot cards and some oracle cards and crack open a couple books and get different passages to share with the intention of bringing some comfort, some guidance, some direction, and maybe just answering some questions and validating for you things that have been going on in your own mind and heart. But hearing it coming from a third person like me helps you realize, oh, wait a minute, I am on the right track. Or yes, I should be paying attention to this. Or yeah, I need to get out there and shine my light and share my love and develop my gifts and live more according to the purpose of my life. So it's supposed to be a show where we kind of demystify the spiritual stuff, because honestly, it's our human right and human potential to have these spiritual gifts, to use our intuition, to be there for each other, and to help bring a sense of light and love and kindness and benevolence to the world, and making sure that our legacy has an impact of positivity on those that we meet along the way. So that's just a little bit about the show. So I start with, like I said, a little bit of what's on my mind and heart, do that message, and then I usually turn it over to the chat. And if you are watching and you would have a question, I ask that you put it in all caps so that it'll kind of jump out at me and I'll be able to address it. And then depending on what's going on, sometimes that the comments will bring us down into a different path of conversation and thought processes and sharings. And I want this to be a meaningful hour that you spend, where you walk away feeling uplifted, more positive about yourself, and also committed and dedicated to doing what it takes to become the best possible version of you that you can possibly become, and aligning yourself with your soul's purpose and manifesting every day more and more of your creativity, the gifts that you have, and the purpose that your life has, and getting in there and expressing that, which will bring you a sense of peace and joy and contentment, knowing that, you know what, I'm on the right track, I'm doing the right things, I feel good about what I'm contributing, and I know that I'm not just spinning my wheels and wasting my precious time, right? Okay. So that's a little bit about the show for those of you who are just joining in. We also ask that you can hit the like, the subscribe, the share, the follow, all those nice social media things. All that helps us, and obviously spread the word to your friends if you do enjoy the information and the approach that we have here. Also, I want to give a shout out to Grizzly and to Mary, who are the brains behind the heart, the brains and the heart behind the Bigfoot channel, the paranormal channel here, and all the different shows that they work so hard to help to produce, and all of us hosts that they have supported and taught what to do and held the space for and promoted, and are doing all the stuff on both the front end and the back end to make sure this information gets out there into the cyber world and can be found, and and be used by anybody who wants or needs it. All right. So good shout out to them. All right. So this week, oh my goodness, right? Last week we were talking about all the flooding in Texas and all the natural disasters. And, another week has gone by, zip by, right? The time is just flying. And there's so many things happening again. There was a tsunami in Alaska. There was flooding in like 5 or 6 major states have flash flooding. There's a hurricane brewing in the Gulf Coast, right? And I saw even flash flooding in New York City. I saw this incredible video on, I think it was the Weather Channel, but somebody is on a subway train in New York City and they pull into a station and the conductor will not open the doors because it's not safe. And the person is viewing and the water is just pouring down and it's on the platform. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I would not want to be underground if New York City is flooding. But I mean, even something like that, we're breaking all kinds of crazy records for heat waves and for moisture levels and rain and flash floods that we haven't seen in over 100 years. And so I know a lot of people are just freaking out, right? And so one of the things that we need to do is keep ourselves calm, keep ourselves positive, putting the best possible vibration out there that we can, praying for, sending energy and whatever kind of tangible support or help we're able to any of our loved ones, friends, families, communities that are suffering or grieving or in a cleanup mode. When bad things happen to good people, other good people rally behind them, right? And so it's really important that we do it with our thoughts, our words, our actions, and keep manifesting and holding on to the intention of getting to the other side of this, getting to where they've gotten back to some semblance of normalcy in their life, or they've healed as much as they can, and life is back to whatever beautiful version of normal they can get back to after going through disasters, right? So just wanted to kind of give a shout out to that. And I also want to give a shout out and talk a little bit about perseverance and friendship and doing what it takes to meet your objective. So I have a friend who had planned to come visit with me for about 10 days. They were going to be coming to just come relax and have some fun and sightsee and do all the things you do when you get together with, really good friends. And so she was supposed to arrive on Wednesday. And Wednesday night, she goes to the airport, drives the hour, gets there, or actually, I believe her husband drove her. And she gets there and she gets into the TSA and goes through the check and all that rest of it. So she's there the 2 to 3 hours ahead you're supposed to be. And the flight gets delayed, and eventually canceled. And they book her for the next day. Thursday, repeat, same story. Friday, the same story. And I'm like, oh my God, after going back and forth and waiting all that time and thinking, okay, am I going, and not having it go. I honestly don't know how many people would say, okay, you know what, we'll give it one more try. But she did. And on day 4, the flights were delayed again, but she made it here. And one of the things that really just struck me was that sense of calm that she had with, well, it was due to weather, right? There was bad weather on the East Coast. There was bad weather here in the Chicago area and in the Midwest. And so we can't control the weather. And it doesn't benefit anybody to get all worked up about it. If there's an alternative or a plan B or something that you can do to still get your objective, sure, go for that. But when there's not, we can't take it personally. We can't start, screaming and yelling and losing our cool. We just have to figure out, so this, now what? So in light of the situation, what do I want to do? Do I totally cancel? Do I reschedule? Do we rebook something for the fall? And so we had decided, the two of us, well, if it happens again, I guess it's not meant to be. But she's also very intuitive, and she checked with her guidance, and she was like, no, I know I'm going to get to Wisconsin tonight. And sure enough, she did. And so we've been enjoying a wonderful week. But it really made me step back and think, like, okay, how many people in this world would have that sort of tenacity, willingness to keep trying and trying and trying to get the outcome, right? And we see this in all aspects of life, not just in travel, We see that with jobs. We see it with relationship building. We see it with dog training, right? Or any skill that people are trying to learn. So often we get frustrated, or it doesn't work out how we plan the first time, the second time, maybe even the third time. And it's like, how many of us are willing to keep trying and going and doing over and over and over again until we get the result we want? That's also part of the key to manifesting in the world, right? So we have to hold that intention of what we want. And oftentimes, initially, we may not see that outcome or that result right away. If we get discouraged, if we stop trying, if we stop visualizing, we're never going to manifest that outcome. So it's so important to have that willingness to do what it takes and to keep that positive outcome in mind, and just keep going back to that. Something gets in your way, roadblock gets thrown up, detour gets put in your path. Okay, figure out, how do you go? What are you going to do? What do you want to do instead of that, right? Or so this, now what? So if this is what I'm dealing with, what's my decision? What's the best possible way to go forward based on the whole situation I'm dealing with? And I tell you, I wouldn't have faulted her if after the third time she was like, I'm done, forget about it. It's not meant to be, right? But, we both kind of talked about it. I was like, yeah, give it one more shot. And sure enough, and we've had a wonderful visit, a wonderful time. But it really did make me reflect on resiliency. And this is somebody who's had to deal with a lot of challenges in her life, right? And when we go through hard things, most of it, when we're going through those hard things, we don't appreciate them. They kind of like, oh, why do I have to do this? We moan, we groan, eventually we roll up our sleeves and we're like, okay, let's tackle it and get it done. But we're not happy about the detours. We're not happy about the hard things that pop in. However, once we're on the other side of them, those things have taught us incredible lessons. And before I get into the messages from Spirit today, I wanted to share something too that I came across in my files. And it's something I used to read to groups when I used to be a professional meeting facilitator many, many years ago. Hey, Chris. Hey, Maria. Hey, Michelle. Thanks for coming on. So one of the things that's really cool about this, an autobiography in 5 chapters, is it's very simple and it's a metaphor, but it is very profound. So I thought, and then based on what I was just talking about, how many of us have that staying power, or do we learn, and are we resilient? And do we take away from those lessons the tools that we need to do other things in life? So, an autobiography in 5 chapters. Chapter 1, I walk down the street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I fall in. Nobody told me. I am lost. I'm helpless. It's their fault. It takes forever to find a way out. Chapter 2, I walk down the same street. There is a deep hole in the sidewalk. I pretend I don't see it. It was an accident. I can't believe I'm in this same place again. But it still isn't my fault. And it still takes me a long time to get out. Chapter 3, I walk down the same street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I see it. It's there this time. I still fall in. You see, it's a habit. But my eyes are open. I know where I am. I take responsibility, and I get out immediately. Chapter 4, I walk down the same street. There is a deep hole in the sidewalk. This time, I walk around it. Chapter 5, I walk down a different street. So that resonates with me a lot, because how many of us try to do the same thing over and over and over again and wind up in the same messy relationship, or same messy job, boss, employee situation, or the same bad habits that pop up over and over and over again. And we make every vow to ourselves, and we swear we're not going to do it, and we're going to go, and it still happens, right? So the important thing is the learning. And a lot of the learning comes, in this story at least, from taking responsibility and going into things fully with your eyes open. How many of us are sleepwalking through our day, right? We get up, we do, a few chores maybe around the house, or we get out right away, commute to work, do our work. On the way home, we hit some errands, get back home, do more chores, go to bed, and rinse, repeat, maybe a slightly different version on the weekend. And we just go on and on and on with our life without thinking, without stopping, bitching and complaining about the stuff that's not working, trying to find somebody else to blame. And meanwhile, our spiritual selves are going, time out, time out. Would you please be more self-aware? Would you please take a moment to pay attention so you don't keep falling in the hole? And if you fall into quicksand and you find your way out, wonderful. Help the next person that falls in the quicksand, right? That's part of the reason we go through lessons, so that we can learn and become resourceful and resilient. But it's also that we can share those lessons and maybe lessen somebody else's pain, shorten their process of struggling, and be able to help them out a little quicker because of what we've learned. All right. All right. And welcome everybody again. Let's see a few more people coming on. And I did see a question pop in. I'm going to get to that as soon as I finish doing the messages from Spirit. So hang tight and I will definitely get to you. And remember, if you do have a question or a topic that you want me to cover, please put it in caps. It just makes it a little easier for me to find it and see it when I scroll back up. Okay. All right. So the first message from Spirit today was the angel card of joy. And joy says, joy is the highest energy of all. It is the magical sense that everything and anything is possible. Joy springs from appreciating the gifts within each moment. Joy allows us to attract and create our present and future moments at their highest possible levels. So, joy is a choice a lot of times, right? And one of the things I realized for myself is I didn't put a high priority on joy in my life. I was a doer. I was getting stuff done. If I was going to put a priority on anything, it was, let's get this done. It wasn't get done with fun. It was get it done. And so after a while, you have this whole, checklist of done items, but you're exhausted. And the sense of joy is, what are the things that feed your soul, that recharge your battery, that bring you that sense of peace and positivity, that make all the difference as you go through your day. So finding the time to do things that bring you joy is really essential for your mental health, your spiritual health, your physical health. Joy is a really important component that we shouldn't underestimate or not value enough. And I apologize to myself over and over again. The other piece that goes with that is self-care. Right? How many of us, I'll get around to it. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, one of the fun things about having a girlfriend and a best friend come and hang out for a while is we started doing fun things. We went and got massages. We did mani-pedis. We stayed up and binge watched movies and just, had popcorn and stuff to drink and just had fun, right? It was just, wow, I can't remember the last time I wasn't compulsively in it. Where's my checklist? Go until I'm so tired I go to bed. And I do a lot of really cool things, but it's still work on some level and it still can wear down, my battery level. So doing things that bring me joy, playing with puppies and my doggy, going for walks in nature, watching beauty or engaging with beauty, drawing, playing music, singing to my favorite music, going swimming. All these little things are like, wow, this is fun. Being with people I love and playing games and hanging out and having deep, meaningful, intimate conversations about what's on your mind and heart. These are things that bring me joy. And so I wasn't prioritizing them in before, but I definitely have made a choice to do that now. And so seeing that card today was like, absolutely. The next card that I chose is the angel card of generosity. And it says, generosity is a quality of spirit. It is rejoicing in the good fortune of others, even when you have nothing or little to celebrate yourself. It is an attitude of mind, which means that you are happy to give without expecting in return. Drawing this card invites you to be generous-hearted and indicates that you are ready to aspire to this noble quality. Angel wisdom suggests that you give of yourself freely, openly, and lovingly. The rewards for generosity are great, for all that you give from an open heart is returned to you multiplied with love. And then the last card I chose of the oracle cards, and this was a card of alchemy. And alchemy says, divine shifts are coming. Change is inevitable. Try to relax and not resist this transformation. Little effort is required to experience a magical opening and healing. So these three cards together, joy, means get yourself filled up, right? Fill up your cup with that joy. Recharge your battery. Have the energy you want. And then from that place of fullness and joyfulness, then you give to others. And what that does is the alchemy of transforming the world. Hey, Nilda, welcome. Hey, Pancho, welcome. Okay, the next three cards that I chose were the tarot cards. And the way that we do with the tarot cards, and remember, guys, they're just a tool, right? I asked Spirit for some inspiration of what's been going on in the recent past, what's happening for most of us right now, and what is the future about. And so the first card, the past for a lot of us, was putting an end to things that were inappropriate in our life. This is the card of Three of Swords, and it looks kind of brutal, I know, but it's really about detaching from all those people that are hurting us, all of the people that we've enabled in ways that are inappropriate, all the people that are connected to us that are kind of sucking our energy, that are drawing us into their drama, trauma, and stuff that is just wearing us out. It's sort of like, no more, I'm done. Take back your sword, take back your stuff. I need to live my life in a way that I'm not the one who you're looking to solve your problems. I'm not the one who has to suffer the consequences for your decisions, choices, or actions. Helping them, empower them so that we're not stealing their learning lessons from them. The next card, what's happening now, is the Lover's card. And the Lover's card is upside down. And I will tell you, I'm sure it applies to other people out there as well, but I'm in a position right now where I'm sort of, wondering. It's been a couple of years since the divorce. And I was like, okay, when will love show up in my life? And, I've talked to Spirit a little bit, and, it's been a couple of years, and I'm like, okay, is there anybody in the wings? What's going on? And Spirit starts laughing. I feel like they're patting me on the head sometimes. And Spirit says, well, you got to get out there and do your stuff. And today, when I was talking to my friend, she said, I had this feeling that part of the reason you haven't attracted the next person, your next partner into your life, is because you weren't thinking of them as a partner. You were thinking of them as somebody that was similar to many of my other relationships, where I tended to be in that kind of nurturing, caretaker, like supportive role of whatever you want or need. I want you to be happy. I'll do that. And I was kind of subordinating myself to them. And it's like, no. You need somebody who can see you and cherish you and love you for the radiant being that you are out there, right? Whatever your quirks or idiosyncrasies, whatever it is that you love to do, find somebody who also loves those things about you, who is supportive of them. I realized the other day, my ex-husband used to make faces if I was singing. I actually sing fairly well, and I love to sing. But over the years, he was like, do you have to do that now? Or do you have to sing that kind of song or whatnot? And I thought, wow, in hindsight, I just shut down. I'm like, yeah, okay, I don't have to sing. But singing is something that brings me joy. And so all of a sudden, I'm like, wait, the next man who's in my life, he's at least not going to tolerate, he'll be supportive of me singing and being joyful and doing the things that I love. So when you're looking at your relationships in your life, if you have somebody that's not really supportive and they're making you feel bad about yourself or bad about the things you're doing or telling you to stop doing things that bring you joy, that really aren't harming anybody, but they're bringing you happiness, you really want to take a step back and think about, is this the right person for me to be spending my time with? Because they're not making me feel like I'm the best possible version of myself. They're making me feel kind of unworthy. And and sometimes we don't see that until hindsight, until we're kind of free from that influence. But if that kind of situation is happening for you, I strongly encourage you to stand up for your inner child, stand up for your higher self, stand up for yourself, and know that you are worthy to be happy. You don't have to prove anything to anybody. We're all different. We all have things that bring us joy and happiness. And we don't necessarily have to justify, why does gardening make me happy, where somebody else is like, oh, that would be a torture, right? I don't know. There's certain things that other people do that I look at and I'm like, whoa, you could never, I would never do that, right? You couldn't pay me enough to do that. So this is, all right. So that whole love issue. So if you're in a position where you're looking at your relationship and you're feeling like, wow, this is not very balanced. I'm not getting anywhere near what I'm giving. This is not supporting me, helping me become a better version of myself or the best possible version of myself, or this relationship is not supporting me expressing my gifts and manifesting the purpose of my soul. If this person is trying to put you in a box or put your light under a bushel, so to speak, this is not the right person to be engaged with at that level, unless karmically you're burning off some old karma or you're trying to learn some lessons. And sometimes, honestly, it takes getting to a certain threshold of pain or bad behavior or receiving stuff where we finally go, no more, I'm done, right? You hit that bottom and rally back up even stronger, because you're like, wait a minute, I wouldn't treat my worst enemy this way. Why are you treating me this way? And you say you love me and you're my friend, and this is how you treat me? Okay, I was wrong. You're not my friend. You're not that person. And it takes a lot of courage to admit, because it can be really scary, especially if you've been in a long-term relationship with somebody and you've been with them for 5, 10, 15, 20 years, and you're like, oh my God, what just happened here? And there's no reason to regret a single moment of it, because you learned lessons, you went through life. It helped develop some of the character and the awarenesses that you have now that you may not have developed if you had been in a different type of situation. So never curse or resent or regret anything, any relationships, any choices or behaviors you made coming from a place of love and wanting to do the best. Never feel bad about those, right? What you want to do is always take that learning, take that love, take the lessons, and move forward. Again, the mantra here, guys, is, so this, now what? Okay, so now the blindfold has come off and you realize this isn't working. What do I do? Okay, you pray on it. You ask for guidance from spirit. You start getting yourself stronger and stronger and stronger. And you start to test the water. You start to speak up more for yourself. You start to stand up for yourself. You start getting more joy in your life. And that's when that alchemy of transformation can happen and help you get back on track of picking up back after that dream that you put on hold because of that relationship. I'm guilty of that one, guys. I have so many dreams that I put on hold in order to make my husband's dreams come true. I did that out of love. I don't regret doing it. But now that that relationship is no more, I need to go back and take those dreams back and say, yep, okay, I got to go after them now. Those were my dreams. Now they're my priority. And back to that question about love here with that tarot card, I also have to be willing to make sure I don't repeat the same thing over again. And the next person that I invite into my heart space to love needs to be somebody who will respect, cherish, and love me in similar ways and support me in similar ways and be that pillar of strength that we can both be for each other, be that equal partner. Not one person is more dominant and drives everything and demands everything and it's all about them, right? It's so important that we have that sense of balance. So once we have that, then the future brings us the mastery card. This is the Eight of Pentacles. This is the mastery card. It says, yep, you finally figured it out. You can have what you want. You can go forward from here. So those are the main messages. When I asked Spirit what I should read this week from my book, The Portal to Potential, remember, guys, this book is all about, it's all channeled passages, it's channeled questions, random thoughts that popped in that all have to do with how to become the best possible version of you, uplifting, helping you through your day, giving you the encouragement, and also making sure you're thinking about and pondering about the things that will help you become the most empowered, vibrant, happy, peaceful, joyful version of you that is possible in this lifetime. And so when I was cracking it open, I came to a page that had some thoughts. And the thought that really jumped out to me was, if you live today and every day with a sense of higher purpose and meaning, and personally do all you can in small and little ways to make your world a better place, you will not be as easily affected by the malevolence and contention seemingly popping up in society everywhere. If you consider the natural and man-made disasters that are being covered on the news almost daily as warning signs and wake-up calls to live each day fully and in readiness for judgment, whether the end times are coming or not, or approaching sooner than later, it really won't matter. You will be prepared, and you will focus your attention and time on the people and things that truly matter, and will simultaneously create greater meaning, peace, and joy in your life. Okay. All right. So those are some of the thoughts I wanted to share with you all before I looked at the questions. So I see there's been a few here. So I'm going to go back and grab the first one. All right. So I see we have Chris here, and Chris just said, all right. She says, a friend just asked me about the duality of how we are all on an individual journey with individual realities and are yet connected as a collective, still affecting each other's realities. Oh, Chris, awesome question. Love it. So, if you think of each soul as a facet of a crystal or a differentiation of the same. So if we all started as one amazing offshoot of the creator, and we said, okay, I want to individuate myself, and I'm going to be female this time, or I'm going to be male this time, or I'm going to be a scientist, or I'm going to be a bus driver, or whatever, right? We all kind of came down with a sole purpose that said, this version of myself, this thread of the tapestry that in this lifetime, in this physical body, for me, this Althea covering that I'm putting on this thread of the tapestry that's connected to the soul of all the rest of the tapestry of all the other threads that are other expressions and individuations of and expressions of that themselves. So we have both our individuality of I'm the thread of that big tapestry of the soul, the collective part that we all share. But when we come onto this side of the veil, we individuate. So it's like we're a thread instead of the whole quilt or tapestry. So our thread says, okay, for this experience on this side of the veil of forgetfulness, I'm going to forget I'm attached necessarily to that tapestry on the other side. And I'm also going to forget that all of the other people and beings that I see are other threads that still connect back to that same tapestry. And part of the fun of the journey of forgetfulness on this side of the veil is being able to discover that, oh, you're one of those threads. You're part of that tapestry too. And that's where we have that one heart, one soul, one cosmic body that a lot of the different religions and mystics and spiritual writings will talk about, right? So we have our individuation and our individuality as expressions so that we could learn and experience different things and kind of bring back that enriched thread back to the tapestry of the whole and say, oh, look at all this cool stuff I learned. Look at all these experiences I did. Look at all the love that I shared. And I bring this back to the collective, right? I also believe that there are soul groups, and you can think of them as related threads that say, hey, we're all going to kind of come down at the same time. And when we need to run into each other, we'll find each other and we'll recognize each other. You know, there's that saying that the eyes are the window of the soul. And so a lot of times we'll see people, and I don't know if you ever noticed this. If you're a driver, do you notice how often as you're driving down the road, the other car, you can be on a highway and going 60, 70 miles an hour. And there's the divider. And then there's cars coming the other direction going 50, 60, 70 miles an hour. But in that microsecond that you guys pass each other, your eyes will make connection with the driver. You'll see each other. It's like, you don't even have to think about it. It just happens. We are wired for connection. We are wired to recognize the soul, our common soul within each other. Now, with the individuation, when we came through the veil of forgetfulness from the world of spirit to this physical plane, we had a choice. And the choice was, what do we want to manifest in this lifetime? What are some of the pieces of the puzzle we want to get? What are some of the things we want to do and the experiences we want to have? I remember working with a woman who had lost her baby a few weeks before her pregnancy due date, and she was devastated. And I was working with her, and the spirit, the soul of her little unborn baby showed up in her aura and had this message to her of gratitude and love and said, you did nothing wrong. All I wanted for this experience on the physical plane this time was basically getting my toe in the water. I didn't want to dive in for 50, 60, 80, 100 years on the physical plane. I just wanted to be a spirit who felt like what it was like to be in a body and to be loved. And I felt your love. I felt your love. I felt Daddy's love. I felt that love. So thank you for giving me that. And thank you for being strong enough to survive after I left and for forgiving me for leaving. You had the strength of character and soul that you could withstand helping me accomplish what I wanted, which was just a little sampling of what it was like on the physical plane. Well, you can imagine that both blew my mind and touched my heart when that message came through from that little spirit. But guess what? That little infant spirit wasn't little. It was a huge spirit. It was a healed, evolved spirit. It was a spirit that had nothing but love and gratitude for that mom and that father that conceived her. So that thread of that particular expression of that lifetime, people might say, well, what was the point of that? You know, it didn't get very far. We don't know what each of our own threads, of the other people's threads of that tapestry had intended for their lifetime. When they said, okay, let me come down. Let me individuate. Let me be Althea. Let me be Jane. Let me be Nancy. Let me be Donna. Let me be Kathy. Let me be Mark or Bob or Joseph or whatever, right? Whatever name, right? We chose a certain experience that we wanted to have and hope to have. And so when we look around, that should help free us from judgment of each other. The individuation, is what helps us have our experiences, but it is that soul connection to that one heart, one soul, communal tapestry of all of our threads on the other side of the veil of forgetfulness, where we have that strength and that commonality, and where we can find a way to easily forgive and love and care about one another. Okay, hope that made sense. All right, next question was, we have Maria, and she's like, she is wondering, do you feel that Philip, my ex, will move, and when? Okay. So I feel like it's going to be by the end of the year. I feel some movement happening there. Um, what I feel around Philip is, and by the way, reading for somebody else, the information that comes through is only what's relevant to their interaction with you. So if you said to me, well, what's happening with Philip right now? It's none of my business. It's none of yours either. You're an ex, right? So to speak. However, we're not psychic voyeurs. We don't go looking where people don't invite us to look. But part that might be relevant to you is that there's a hope to reconnect. And if he moves closer to you, then you might have that opportunity. So from that point of view, it's okay for me to kind of take a small peek into his energy. And what I feel there's lots of complication and busyness with his energy right now. But I feel like the window of that burst of energy will start to pass and will start to lessen, so that he'll be able to get his stuff together and make clear decisions. So I feel by the end of the year, that's when a move would happen. And remember, we all have free will and free choice too, guys, right? So, we have energetic patterns that are set up now, but it doesn't take a lot for us to, just think about it even for ourselves. How often we make a plan, we're like, okay, this is what I want to do over the next few hours, the next few days, the next few weeks. Something pops up and it can sometimes change the whole nature of the plan. It'd be like, oh, like for example, if I have a girlfriend back in New York who is a real estate agent, and she has already said the minute she sells this multi-million-dollar property that she is representing, she's like, we're going on a trip to Santorini, Greece, right? And she's like, she's going to rent out some villa, and she's going to buy plane tickets for 10 of her favorite girlfriends, me included, and we're going to go party for at least a month. Well, you got to know that's not in my day-to-day plan. I'm hoping and manifesting for that and can't wait for it to happen. But the minute I get that phone call or receive that ticket, it'll be like, okay, my day-to-day plan was to do this and this and this, and my weekly plan is this and this and this, and I'm working my way to get that done. Well, when something really big and powerful can be negative, like a flood or a disaster, but it can also be really positive, like hitting the lottery or selling a big commission on a house if you're a realtor, or if you're a salesman, having a great commission bonus come in. If there's a windfall that comes in, it's going to change the day to day to day. You jump on that. You're like, oh yeah, I'm happy to do that. And then after that celebration, or after that trip, or after the partying of, you were salesman of the year, you kind of get back to, okay, back on track. But when those opportunities come, you want to be able to be free to jump on them and go and have fun. Okay. Next question comes from Nilda. And hi, Nilda. Nilda says, what is this retrograde going to show me so I can work on it? Okay. So for those of you that are tuning in who maybe haven't listened to a lot of astrological type of stuff, I'm not an astrologer, but I know a little bit about retrogrades. And retrograde basically is when the energy of a planet or a moon or some celestial body basically has the opposite effect. So if you think of it spinning, it doesn't change its spin, but it's sort of, if it's spinning one way and having a certain influence during this time. So let's say Mercury, for example, is a planet that rules good communication and travel and this sort of stuff. So when Mercury is direct and doing its spinning in its normal way, it will help people communicate better and have easy travels. When it goes retrograde, that's when it's kind of counterintuitive to its function. Communication, in the case of Mercury, becomes a little off. People misunderstand things, or communication is a little harder to make, or systems fall down, or letters get lost, or emails don't get delivered, or they get lost in cyberspace. Travel plans get changed or mucked about, right? So there's all kinds of different planets that affect us. If you have interest in this, I would recommend having an astrologer do your chart. I can strongly recommend Nancy Scooter McMonigal, who's in Virginia. You can look her up. She's an amazing astrologer if anybody's looking for one. Hey there, Scooter, shout out. So she could tell you everything about what planets do and what, when, and where in great detail, far more than I. However, I can ask Spirit, Nilda, so what is this retrograde not just going to show you specifically, but us, right? Because there's general patterns that happen. And so I'm going to see what is coming through. And what I'm feeling here is patience about timing and launching projects. I have a friend of mine who just published a brand new book. His name is Craig Janjulis, and he just published a book called Higher Self-Discovery, The Art of Self-Discovery. It just went up on Amazon today. It went up on Amazon last night. Why? Because part of the reason why it was just timing, it all got done. But it's an amazing book, and it is the compilation of about 40 years of teaching and discovery and working and figuring things out. So I highly, highly recommend it. Again, his name is Craig Janjulis, and the book is Higher Self-Discovery, The Art of Self-Discovery. And it is a wonderful book for anybody to pick up. So he found out that Mercury was going to be going into retrograde starting later today. And so a few days ago, he's like, we got to get this book out. Will you help me get it published? He had it all ready to be self-published. There was just a few things that he needed to tweak. And since I had my own book out, he knew I knew how to do that. I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll help you. He really wanted to get that book out before Mercury went in retrograde so that there would be this positive energy of communicating and progress that happens behind that book. So that's one of the things that happens in retrogrades. And in this particular one is it makes us take a look at what projects am I working on? What communications do I need to be really clear about? And when it comes to like the unveilings or the launches, the project launches, the launching a new relationship, the sharing, the deepest, darkest secrets and feelings with a loved one, it's probably time to look at using more discernment and saying, you know what, maybe I'm going to wait until the cosmic energies and forces are around me are supportive of positive publishing, positive launches, positive communication, positive connections and understandings versus misunderstandings with the people that are in my life. And so it's like, take advantage of the positive energies that are available. And when it's kind of, in a way, Nilda, it's kind of like if you're going to be on a boat and it's going to be rocky seas, you take Dramamine and you make sure you have a life preserver. If you're not wearing it, you at least know where it is, right? You take precautions. You are smart. You are prepared and ready to deal with whatever comes up with. So I think that this retrograde, as well as most retrogrades, is trying to teach us to have that inner wisdom of when to do what, with whom, and what's the best possible way and timing to do things, and being aware to listen to those promptings. You don't want to, what's the old saying, push water uphill, right? You want to be able to put your efforts behind things and have them bear out results and bear fruit for you versus feeling like it's a struggle, right? So one of the, I remember an old teacher of mine saying once, when you come to that brick wall on your path, it might be a test of resiliency and how dedicated you are to getting through. So, maybe you try to climb over or get around it or break through it or dig under it. But if that obstacle is still in your way and it's not budging, instead of exhausting yourself of trying and trying and trying and trying, he said, sit and rest. And as you lean up against that wall, take a look around and see, did a new path open? Is there a window or door that's open? Is there something else that's calling you? Or if nothing else, rest and recharge and prepare yourself for when that wall finally comes down. And then the path that you were on is made clear again. So it's all about timing, preparation, and really being very aware of what's happening and not wasting energy spinning your wheels when the environment is not conducive to the progress that you want to make. Okay, I hope that makes sense. All right, and then Chris is asking, whoops, where'd it go? Whoops. Oh, thank you very much. Wait, what happened to your question, Chris? There it is. Okay, here we go. So Chris says, do I tend to get a line of spirits at the end of the day? Do I tend to get a line of spirits at the end of the day? How can I help keep it more organized in a way that helps us all understand each other without them yelling at me? Okay, please and thank you. Okay, Chris. So what I think you mean by a line of spirits, based on the rest of it, is that you're so busy during the day and haven't made time during the day to meditate or to tune in or jot down the promptings of spirit and the messages, that when you finally get to a point of, okay, I just sat down, I made my dinner, I just sat down, or I just, grabbed myself a cup of tea or a glass of wine or whatever, beverage, and I'm trying to unwind. In that moment, it's kind of like, hello, 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 hello. All the things that you didn't hear during the day are all popping up in front of you. And you're asking how you can keep that organized. So if that's right, that's what I'm going to assume you're asking. If not, please feel free to re-ask the question and clarify a little bit more in caps, and I'll give it another try. But let me go through this one. So yes, we all tend to get that line of spirits, as you're calling them. At the end of the day, if we've just been too preoccupied and busy and not making time to tune in and pay attention. It's almost like if you have a household of kids and during the day they're trying to tell you stories and you're like too busy. I'll talk to you later. Mommy's busy. And at the end, and then finally you get them at the dinner table. It's like, oh, this one, they're competing against each other. They're like, well, let me tell you this. I want to tell you this. So it's almost better for you to spread it out a little bit, or have more of an orderly rule, like a talking stick at dinner, or like, okay, we're going to take turns and you get 2 minutes to share and you get 2 minutes to share, and you work your way around. Right. So the first thing I would say, Chris, is I would try to build into your day, linking it to something you already do multiple times a day, and tag in let me write down a few thoughts. So every time you go to the ladies' room at work, once you get back to your desk, before you dive back into anything else, as you're sitting there on the toilet, ask yourself, what do I need to know next? And when you get back to your desk, write down the note, right? Or if you're somebody that drinks a cup of coffee or drinks a glass of water, every time you take a sip of that coffee, every time you take a sip of that water, or when you finish it and go for a brand new cup or a brand new glass, okay, you're drinking anyway during the day, okay, before you take that, refill it, before you take the next sip, take a minute, jot down. So keep like a running journal, nearby, and, it doesn't have to be physical paper. I mean, that's old school, like I like, but you guys can have, a digital online notepad, right? And just whatever pops in, add to it during the course of the day. Other things that people do multiple times a day, well, you brush your teeth, right? So every time you brush your teeth, as you're looking in the mirror and you're seeing your own eyes, that soul connection in the mirror, just be open to hear, okay, what do I need to be aware of as you're brushing your teeth? And as soon as you're done, jot it down. So instead of thinking that you have to dedicate a full 15 minutes or half hour or hour to sit there and, okay, lay it on me, link it to little things that you know you're already doing and just jot it down, jot it down, jot it down. And then later at the end of the day, when you have more time, you can revisit. You can do a deeper dive on each one of those points, but you've already made the energetic connection. You already have everything you need. You just have to kind of unwind and unfold it. The other thing you can do is, if you are at the end of the day and you do feel bombarded because there is this crowding in of spirit trying to get their messages to you, you can certainly say, hey, my home, my energy space, my rules, one at a time. You get 2 minutes, go. You get 2 minutes, go, and jot it down, or a minute or 30 seconds or whatever it is. You get one thought, tell me. You get one thought, tell me. You're in control. It's your energy. It's your space. So you can pretty much call the shots. Okay. And then let's see other questions here. Hello, Virgil Manchester, England. That's pretty cool. Hi, Anthony. All right. Anthony's adding a follow-on question quickly. And I think this might be our last one because I just saw the time. Oh my God, this hour just flew by, guys. Okay. So the question is, how can we grow when we're in retrograde? So by really being more and more aware, self-aware, and evaluating, recharging, doing the planning and the preparation and the things we need to do to get ready. So once that light is green again, we're ready to go, right? So in essence here, it's like, do the seeds that you've planted in the soil grow on the days when it's cloudy? Probably. We don't see it as much, but what do? We fertilize, we add a little water. The sun will take care of the rest when the sun comes back out. But we do our part to make sure that the seed is covered with enough dirt. We fertilize it. We send it good energy. We visualize what it's going to look like when it's a grown seed. So we can still do all those things, Anthony, of visualizing, preparing, tending to the bits that we can. We just don't put the big push or effort out trying to control other things on the outside when it's really like proceed with caution light because of retrogrades happening. Okay. And we have Nilda saying, thank you so much. So apparently my answer made sense. Yay. Love to hear it. Thanks so much. All right, y'all. That's our hour. Can you believe how fast it went by again? I love you guys. Thank you so much for joining in. Thank you all for comments and engaging on the chat. For those of you that are tuned in and listening afterwards, you can always reach out to me. You guys can find me at altheajacob.com. That's my website. There's ways that you can email me and reach out and connect to me. If you ever have questions or thoughts or things you want to ask me to talk about on a future show, feel free to reach out. And remember your homework, y'all, this week. So what is it, guys? I almost want you to say it with me because I know there's a few regulars here. What are we going to do? We are going to shine our light. We're going to share our love. We are going to do our best to become the best possible version of ourselves out there, doing random acts of kindness, forgiving and unconditionally forgiving and loving ourselves and others, and creating a legacy of positivity and positive impact on the way that we affect the lives of others. If you do that, if you do your best to do that, and hey guys, we're not perfect. Sometimes it's going to work. Some days you'll do better than others. But if that is your intention and goal, I can guarantee you at the end of the day, you will feel peace in your heart, joy in your soul, and you will know that your life matters because you matter. You do. Thank you again. I love you. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope to see you all next week. Spread the love, spread the word, and have a great night. Thanks again for joining me. Once again, this is Althea from Spiritual Street Talk with Althea Jacob. Have a blessed week, everybody. Bye now. As I look for the, there it is. Bye.
Coming to a YouTube channel near you.